Reading fiction is surely a waste of time, right? I mean, surely you have heard this one before. Now, for the past 4 years, I have read more than 300 fiction books, which has taken thousands of hours, and I can't be the only one that sometimes feel like they have to justify spending so much time in fictional books. I mean, if you're a fiction reader, then it's guaranteed you'll have met people that tell you that they prefer reading non-fiction, or even told you that they don't really see the point in reading fiction when you can read non-fiction and get smart, right? But you know what really bothers me often with such encounters? I mean, I swear that almost always those people that say stuff like that with fiction are the same people that read maybe 1 or 2 non-fiction books a year and probably spend hundreds of hours watching Netflix or watching TikToks. I mean, it can almost feel like you have to justify spending hundreds of hours reading fiction to a person that spends hundreds of hours watching TikToks. And I do think we can all agree on that that is absurd, right? So in today's video, I wanted to go over, I think it was around 8 reasons why I think you should keep reading fiction and why I think you should not feel bad about it at all. And also discuss some of the benefits of actually reading fiction, because surprisingly, I think a lot of people don't know this about fiction. But first, let's actually give the other side of the debate here some credit. I mean, can reading fiction be a waste of time? I would absolutely say so. I mean, if reading becomes more important to you than family or relationships or church or whatnot, then that is probably not healthy for you. Reading is supposed to be a hobby, and it's not supposed to replace other important things in your life. Secondly, now, I don't want to make it seem like I'm looking down on non-fiction. I mean, I love non-fiction. I have always been fond of books that delve into deep religious and philosophical topics, and I think it's a really, really good thing to read non-fiction. So if you love non-fiction, great, I do as well. One thing I wanted to mention before I get into all the benefits I have experienced from having read all of these fiction books is that I did not make this video to brag about all the benefits I have reaped and so on, but rather I made this video for all those fiction lovers that read fiction and sometimes feel bad about it, and for all those people that are currently not reading a lot of fiction because they maybe think it's a waste of time. I really hope that my experience will open lots of people's eyes of all the benefits of reading fiction. But what have I learned from having read around 300 fiction books in the last 4.5 years? Firstly, one of the main reasons why I think reading fiction is good is because I genuinely think that it helps me with stress reduction. That just picking up a book and being transported to another world or setting offers an amazing relaxation and really helps reduce my stress levels. And I think it makes sense, right? I mean, what are some of the reasons why we love watching television? Well, one of the reasons surely is because it distracts us from all our problems and stresses, at least for a while. And I would argue that reading does the same thing here. And actually, this point is backed up by science. A study from 2009 showed that reading can help relax your body by lowering your heart rate and ease the tension in your muscles, and can reduce stress by up to 68%. And another thing I wanted to mention about stress is that I also think that my sleep has improved due to reading fiction. Now, by picking up a book right before you go to bed, you get to go to a place where your brain doesn't get overstimulated by flashy lights and sounds on your phone, and it helps to calm you down. Now, I would recommend you trying to read for maybe 20 minutes before you go to bed, rather than scrolling on your phone. I mean, it can literally change your sleep, which in turn could also change your life. So if you want to live healthy and have less stress in your life and probably also sleep better, then maybe consider reading more. Now, the next point is, and this most definitely is true for me, but that is that reading can enhance your vocabulary. Now, I think most of you can hear that English is not my first language from my accent. It is actually my third language after Faroese and Danish, and I truly do not believe I would have been able to express myself this clearly if it wasn't for reading fiction. Now, I especially appreciate reading on Kindle, where you can actually hold down on a word and it'll tell you the definition of it. I mean, that feature is just brilliant. And I have used the feature so much. And just by reading more, I have been able to write better assignments at university. I've been better able to do job interviews. And overall, I just become a much more competent communicator in a language that is not my mother tongue. So really, if you want to sound a bit more sophisticated and use words such as serendipity, ajar, or anthropomorphism, then maybe read more fiction. Fourth point is that I truly believe that reading fiction has helped unlock something creative within me. Now, just hear me out. Throughout my whole life, I always saw myself as someone that was very logical and lacked a bit of that creative element. I mean, all my best friends are incredible musicians, and me, I have never played anything, and still to this day, the thought of being able to write a song just baffles me. I mean, just how do you write a song? But around 4 years ago, I started reading again, and it felt like my brain started getting more and more activated. And then later on, I created a social media page on Instagram, and then later on, I created a YouTube channel, and now a big part of my life is creating content, editing videos, and taking photos for my social media. Now, I don't have any hardcore proof that reading is the reason why I've suddenly become more creative, but I think being exposed to imaginative and creative storytelling on a daily basis for years has stimulated my brain and encouraged it to think more creatively, and I think that makes sense, right? I mean, you see authors use their incredible imagination, and then you spend hours reading a story, which is a creative piece of art, and it only makes sense that by indulging yourself in art, you will become more artistic. Now, the next point is that reading fiction has given me an ability to focus and has improved my concentration. Now, I'm not saying that I don't procrastinate, because I certainly do, but what is interesting with reading is that it forces you to concentrate on words on a page for a longer period of time. And often, just to start enjoying reading fiction, you'll have to invest time into it, and I have discovered that I am now able to read for longer and longer periods of time, which is also helping me in my work and in my family life and so on. Now, when I started reading again around 4 years ago, I struggled to read more than 10 pages. It was so hard, and it felt like my mind was getting bored so easily, but having trained to read more and more slowly over a longer period of time, I have now come to a place where I can occasionally read 100 pages in one sitting. I mean, yesterday I read 140 pages in one sitting, which is something I just simply couldn't fathom even doing 4 years ago. That means that I have increased my ability to read by tenfold, from around 10 pages to 100 pages in one sitting, and there's no reason why this also can happen for you as well. Now, the next point is that reading fiction can actually strengthen your emotional intelligence. Now, the theory basically goes like this, right? By spending time in a book, you are practicing your brain to understand someone else's perspective, which in turn can help you improve your social and cultural awareness, and I totally believe that this is true. Now, from having read all of these fiction books in the past years, I have experienced life through the eyes of refugees and women and minorities and royalties and soldiers and so on and so on. And the fact that I've gone through a journey with so many characters has helped me understand and appreciate points of views that I did not understand before. I mean, I can't generalize and say that people that read fiction are more tolerant, but at least in my experience, it has opened my eyes to have other people experience life. And the next point is very closely related to emotional intelligence, but that is the fact that fiction can teach us incredible, valuable life lessons. Yes, a non-fiction book will probably give you hard science about how grief can impact a person, but only non-fiction can allow you to experience what grief might look like. Now, a lot of fictional books I have read explore themes such as grief or morality or meaning of life or moral dilemmas and so on in very creative settings, often over multiple books if you're reading a series. Now, a good example here is the Farsi trilogy by Robin Hobb, one of my favorite trilogies. Now, what Robin Hobb does so beautiful here is to explore what it is like for a person to grow up being confused about their place in the world. And while a non-fiction book could provide you with facts about what that might feel like and the impact of struggling with identity, fiction is unique in the sense that it teaches you deep lessons through storytelling, which then also makes it not feel as dry as a lot of non-fiction can be. Or we can take the Dandelion Dynasty that explores how technology can impact societies and the burden of carrying a legacy. In fiction, you usually both get a story that you can escape into, but you also get some incredible life lessons. Now, the next point is that reading fiction can also help you become more analytical. Now, when you read fiction, you learn how to analyze plot structures, character motivations, and narratives, which in turn can help you sharpen your critical thinking and analytical skills. Now, if you asked me 3 or 4 years ago why I didn't enjoy a fiction book, I would probably just have said something along the lines that the book felt slow and I didn't find it interesting, which is honestly not a wrong answer. But now when people ask me why I didn't enjoy a book, after having read more than 100 books, I'm able to become much more specific about why a certain plot decision didn't work for me, or how I think the author just didn't use certain tropes well, or how the themes were explored in a shallow way, and so on and so on. I'm just trying to say here that my brain has been trained to analyze plot structures and tropes and so on, which not only has made me become more analytical, but it has also made me appreciate the books I'm reading much more, since I see things in the pages that I didn't used to see. So those are all the reasons why I think you should keep reading fiction or start reading fiction if you currently aren't. Reading fiction has a wide range of benefits, and I can assure you that it is a much better way than spending your time on TikTok or scrolling on social media. Now, if you want to read some fiction books that have been very controversial in the past and have been banned, then I would recommend checking out this video. Oh, you're still here and you want more? Well, the good news is that if you want more and you want to support me, then I do have a Patreon. Now, if you didn't know, then I have a Viking book club where every single month we read one book together, and you can be the one that can put the book forward. Last month we read this book, and this month we're reading this book. And at the moment we are trialing having Zoom book club discussions after everyone has read the book. So also, if you want to discuss a book with me and other like-minded people, then the Patreon is the way to go. Now, in addition to getting your name in my videos, joining the Viking book club, potentially getting art cards depending on what tier you are, I am also basically spending around 100% of my Patreon income to reinvest back into my channel. Since I launched my Patreon, I have had more than 30 videos professionally edited. And just to give an example, from September 2023 to March 2024, I have spent more than $1,500 into video editing with the aim to consistently post high quality videos for you to enjoy. It is much appreciated.